Have you ever felt invisible to someone you always put first? You gave your time, your care, your energy. You showed up again and again, yet they ignored you or treated you like you didn't matter. This happens because when we give too much, people begin to take us for granted. But what if you could change this without arguing, begging, or chasing? What if the shift could happen quietly, without games or drama? This is where Stoicism comes in. It's an ancient philosophy that teaches self-respect, balance, and inner peace, even when others fail to value you. It reminds us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. Trying to change someone who doesn't care only drains your energy. Real change starts inside you, in how you act, think, and respond. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." When you stop chasing answers and start becoming the answer, something changes. Your calm strength creates discomfort. You stop being predictable and start becoming unforgettable. Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about dignity, emotional intelligence, and inner strength. Sometimes, what affects someone most isn't what you say, but what you don't say. When you stop explaining yourself, stop chasing, and stop reacting instantly, the dynamic shifts. Silence, when used with purpose, restores your dignity. Especially with someone who's used to your constant attention and availability. When you go quiet without drama or announcements, the other person is forced to think. They feel the absence of your energy. Marcus Aurelius said that nothing is as powerful as silence backed by truth. Silence creates space for reflection. It's not disappearing. It's choosing not to give yourself away so easily anymore. Another powerful shift happens when you turn your focus back to yourself. Constantly trying to be seen by someone who ignores you slowly disconnects you from who you are. The moment you begin investing in your own mind, body, goals, and peace, something changes inside you. This isn't about showing off or trying to cause jealousy. It's real self-care. When you start valuing yourself, others feel it. The person who once ignored you begins to notice because you no longer depend on them to feel whole. True freedom comes from within. When you stop needing to be chosen, people start choosing you. Some people only understand your value when they feel your absence. Stepping back calmly, without anger or explanation, sends a clear message. You are no longer willing to stay where you are not respected. This kind of absence isn't punishment. It's protection. When someone is used to your constant presence, your withdrawal creates a void. Seneca said that sometimes you must disappear to be noticed. Leaving with dignity forces reflection. It makes the other person wonder if they've already lost you. One of the hardest but strongest moves is staying emotionally calm. Don't explode. Don't beg. Don't explain. Someone who expects emotional reactions feels confused when met with calm strength. Your peace becomes unsettling to them. This isn't coldness. It's self-control. It's choosing not to let someone else disturb your inner balance. When you stop reacting, control shifts. When you stop playing the game ends. There is also a quiet power in self-respect. When you take care of yourself, your choices, your environment, and your boundaries, confidence shows naturally. You don't need to announce it. You don't need validation. Silent self-respect speaks louder than words. And the person who once underestimated you can't help but notice the strength you carry without trying to prove anything. It shows in the way you walk, in your voice, and in your eyes. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who hurt you." That's the truth. Before, you tried too hard to be accepted. Now, you grow because you become complete on your own. Self-respect changes the energy you carry. You become more careful about who you allow into your life. You step away from what drains you and move closer to what makes you stronger. When you treat yourself as a priority, the world begins to do the same, even the person who once didn't see your value. One of the biggest shifts happens when you set firm boundaries. Nothing changes an unhealthy relationship faster than deciding what you will no longer accept and standing by it. When you do this, the other person realizes things are different. You are no longer available at any cost. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace. It's clearly showing how far others are allowed to go. Some people will test those limits or try to make you feel guilty for saying no. But strong boundaries don't bend to pressure. Epictetus said it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. Choosing boundaries is an act of self-respect. Anyone who can't handle your firmness was benefiting from your lack of limits. Those who truly respect you will understand and adjust. Real love isn't scared of boundaries. Another powerful change is learning to be selective with your kindness. Being kind is good, but giving endlessly to people who don't give back only leads to exhaustion. Selective generosity means you stop giving your time, energy, and attention to those who only come around when they need something. You begin to offer your best only to those who truly appreciate it. Seneca said generosity should be guided by wisdom. When you become more careful about who you give to, people realize your presence is no longer guaranteed. When you stop caring about what they say or do, the balance changes. They lose control because what once disturbed you no longer matters. This indifference doesn't come from anger, but from understanding. Your peace is no longer something you trade away. When someone realizes they can't influence you anymore, they feel empty. People who depend on control struggle when that control is gone. Your calm indifference becomes freedom. It ends emotional dependence and begins healing. The final shift is unshakable self-confidence. There is nothing more powerful than knowing who you are and living from that place. When your confidence comes from within and not from approval, everything changes. You don't need to prove yourself. Your presence speaks for you. Marcus Aurelius said self-reliance isn't arrogance, it's wisdom. When you stop seeking validation and start living with clarity and purpose, even those who once ignored you begin to notice. Not because you want them to, but because you chose yourself. And that's when the balance fully changes. The person who once underestimated you realizes they lost access to someone who finally knows their worth. That loss hurts, because true confidence doesn't just attract, it frees. These attitudes aren't about revenge. They're about transformation. They're about taking control of your life and stopping the search for value outside yourself. When you change how you treat yourself, the world responds differently. Some will notice. Some will regret. But none of that matters anymore because now you see yourself. You are enough. And that's where real power lies. Peace without needing approval, acceptance, or validation from anyone.